All right, welcome to 10.6, the second day of our distance versus time graphs. So in the last one, you interpreted the speeds. In this one, you are going to be drawing the graphs yourself, and we're going to see that. All right, so this is a review of the last one. So in section A, in 1 hour, Karen biked, all right, so each one is worth 4. So she biked 12 miles in 1 hour. That's 12 miles per hour. And B, in these 2 hours, she biked 0, right? She was at 12 and stayed at 12, so she went 0 miles in 2 hours. It's horizontal, has a slope of 0, has a speed of 0. In C, in that 1 hour, from 3 to 4, in 1 hour, she went 2 boxes. Each box is worth 4, so she went 8. That's an 8. It does not look like an 8. 8 miles in 1 hour, 8 miles per hour. And in C, right, in that 1 hour, she went 1 box. She went 4 miles. So we went 4 miles per hour. All right, now the other thing you should realize, you need this today, that was what slowing down looks like, or decreasing speed. Right? Green is what speeding up looks like. So she was biking faster and faster during that hour. All right, and in A, she was biking at a constant speed. And that's when was her constant speed? A. Okay, so you're going to be drawing these. Also, one of the things that you're going to be doing today is sometimes instead of putting miles, you have this weird thing called miles away. So section D here is not a negative speed, right? Going down has always been a negative, right? But this is an exception to that. And what this is saying is you're on a road trip, okay? And you went away from home, right, during section A, speeding up. Then you slowed down, but you were still going away from home. Then 100 miles away from home in section C, maybe you were visiting someone. You visited them for 2 hours. And then this section D is you driving back home. That's what that is. And the speed, even though the slope will be negative, the speed doesn't become a negative, right? Because all that's happening here is you were away from home and you're coming back, okay? We never had this yesterday, okay? You were just said miles over there on the y-axis. Okay, so now you're going to graph these yourself. So let's see this one. It says, plot a graph that shows you driving 100 miles in 2 hours. So there's 2 hours, and there's 100 miles. So we want to get there. Now, every single graph, unless it says otherwise, is starting at 100. Starting at 0, 0. And so we have to start at 0, 0 and get there. So we could get there in a curved line or a straight line. I'm trying to make that straighter, okay? And so notice I went through 150, so I'm trying to say that you went 100 miles in 2 hours, right? Which means you went 50 miles per hour, right? Now, again, I could have bent it that way and speeded up. I could have gone that way and slowed down. I decided to keep it simple. Okay. Now let's see what it says next. It says, then you drove 100 miles in 3 hours. All right, so we're going another 100 miles. So we went 100 in that first section, and now we're going another 100, so we better end up at 200 up there. And we went for 2 hours, but now we're going for 3 more. We better end up at 5. So we need to get to 5, 200. And again, it doesn't say if you sped up or slowed down or what, so I'll just draw a straight line. But now I'm there, okay? Now I've gone 200 miles total in 5 hours. Then stop the car for 3 hours. All right, so we saw a bunch of those. For 3 hours, we're going to go no miles. Right, so now we've gone a total of 8 hours. Then drive 50 miles per hour. Not 50 miles, 50 miles per hour. Look at the difference. Okay, 50 miles per hour until you have driven a total of 250 miles. All right, to go 50 miles per hour, that means every hour we have to go another 50 miles. So we're going to go to 9 hours, right? We should now be at 9, right? Because we had 2, then 3, then 3, then we don't know what we're going to do. but we have to go 50 miles in the next hour. So that's only going to get us 25 miles in the next hour. We got to go 50 miles an hour, so we got to go here. And are we now at 250? We should be, because we went 100, then we went another 100, then we went 0, then we went 50. And we've gone a total of 250 in 9 hours. All right. But please notice the difference between 50 miles per hour and 50 miles in 1 hour. That's not this, 50 miles, let's say. 50 miles per hour is 50 miles in 1 hour. Okay, let's try another one. Plot a graph that shows you increasing your speed. So you got to bend it as you drive 100 miles away from home. Okay, so we're driving 100 miles away from home. So we're starting at 0, 0 unless it says. And we're going to drive 100 miles. So each box is worth 20 this time. That's different than we've been doing. And we got to do that in 2 hours. But it's got to show increasing speed. So you got to bend it this way somehow. All right. Some sort of bend, make it very clear on the test, all right? It's got to bend that way to show increasing speed. Then start to slow down as you drive an average speed of 40 miles per hour for 1 hour. So we're at 2, we're going to go 1 more hour, and we're going to go 40 miles in that hour. So we're at 100, right? So we got to go to 140, right? That's 4, and we got to bend this the other way. So we have to end there, and we got to bend it that way. Well, I'm really not too good, sloppy, but all right. So that's slowing down, right? Because it's bent that way. And let's just make sure everyone knows bent that way is always speeding up. Okay, next. Then stop the car for 2 hours. All right, we slowed down to 0. And so now we're at hour 5, right? Because we did 2, then 1, then 2. All right, we're at 5 hours, and we went 100 miles in the first section. We went 40 miles per hour for an hour, which was 40 miles, and now we've stopped it. We're still at 140. Then drive at a constant 40 miles per hour for 1 hour. So that means no bending of it. And so every hour, or we're just for 1 more hour, we're going to go 40 more miles. So 40 more miles is 180 from 140, and it's got to be straight. And that's where your graph ends up at. So we went for 6 hours of driving and ended up at 180 total miles driven. And this is what a constant speed looks like. All right. Now, big thing about this one, it says distance away. It has not said that before, except where I showed you in the introduction. Okay, so this is Mike biking home. How far away when he was when he started? He was 24 miles away, right? That is the y-intercept here. Right? We've been starting at 0, 0, but now he's starting away and coming back home. Okay. Now we're going to find the biking. There are no negative answers here, right? Normally this would be a negative. But in section A, he biked 1 hour, and he went from 24 minus 18, right? Each box is worth 3. So he went 2 boxes. He went 6 miles. And so the answer here is 6 miles per hour. It's not negative, it's just 6 miles per hour back home. B is flat. He went 0 miles in 1 hour. Right, that's easy now, 0 miles per hour. And now section C, he started 18 miles away, got all the way back home. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each box is worth 3. He went 18 miles, and that took him 2 hours, right? From 2 to 4 there, 2 hours. So he was going 9 miles per hour. All right. So there won't be any negative speeds in any of these. When you see these things that look like negative slopes, it's they're biking back toward where they started. I'm going to call it back home. All right. So Karen's riding her bike. Here we go. In section A, for 2 hours she was biking, and she went 4, 12, 20 miles. Right? Each box here is worth 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 miles in 2 hours, 10 miles per hour. In section B, in that 1 hour, it's 1 hour this time, she went from 20 to 28. She went 8 miles in that 1 hour. So she went 8 miles per hour. Section C, she went 0 miles in that 1 hour. She went 0 miles per hour. And so she, notice it says distance away again, even though we started 0, 0. So she's biking away. Maybe she visited someone for an hour who lives 28 miles away. And now she's biking all the way home, right? She started at 28 and gets all the way back to 0. Now, right, it takes her 2 hours to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, each one was worth 4. That makes sense, right? She went 28 miles in 2 hours. She biked all the way home at a constant 4 miles per hour, right? You're right. So that's constant biking. She did that exact speed the whole time. In section A, she was what? Hopefully you're saying, oh, I said speeding up, which is the same as increasing your speed, right? Increasing means more. All right, so in the red section, they're speeding up or increasing their speed. In section B, they're slowing down or decreasing their speed. Same thing. All right, so we're going to start 0 miles from home, it says. Well, let's start with red because I've been consistently doing that. All right, and then drive 75 miles at a constant speed for 2 hours. We're not going 75 miles per hour, right? Because it's 75 miles in 2 hours, all right? In 2 hours, we're going to 75. That's this constant speed, so you have to make this straight, right? 75 divided by 2 is what? 37.5 miles per hour, right? That's why at 1 hour, it's right there, right? That's 37.5, halfway to 75. All right, so for the next 3 hours, speed up as you drive another 150. So we went 75, we're going another 150. That's 225, way up there. And it's got to take 3 hours. So we were at 2, 3 more, we're at 5, right? So we have to go all the way up there. And it says speed up, so I got to bend this like this. Okay. So we're now at 5 hours and 225 miles. All right, immediately turn around. And this is, I say this because it's sort of not realistic, right? You were really speeding up and then go, and then turn around. All right, turn around and drive home at a constant speed of 75 miles per hour. Now, 75 miles per hour, right? That's 3 boxes every hour, right? Because each box is worth 25. So you're going to 1, 2, 3 boxes every hour. 1, 2, 3 boxes every hour until you get all the way home. And it says constant speed. So you're making a straight line and you're going to finally get home at 8 hours. Okay, so let's find the average speed in each section here. Right now in section A here, we went 150 miles in 2 hours, which is 75 miles per hour. In section B, hopefully that's sort of obvious, you went 0 miles in 1 hour, 0 miles per hour. Section C, all right, starts there, ends there. Right, so in 3 hours, we went 3 boxes. Each one's worth 25. So we went 75 miles in 3 hours, which is 25 miles per hour. In section D, we did the same. This is ending at 9, by the way, if it's not clear to you. So we have 3 hours. We went another 3 boxes, 75 miles. All right, so now, the reason this one is here. All right, the red one, let me clean this up. We're clearly, hopefully, you've seen this several times now. That's what speeding up looks like. B is stopped. We've seen that several times. Now, what is happening in C? C is speeding up, just like A. Now, we haven't done one where the bend comes back, and you don't have to memorize this, but I wanted to show you at least once. And you could figure it out. During the first 2 hours, we only went 25 miles. We went 50 miles in the last hour. We went 25 miles in the first two, 50 miles in the last. So we went 25 in 2, 50 in 1. We were going way faster at the end there. So we were speeding up. And so D is the opposite, obviously. It's bent the other way. And this is slowing down. And again, you can see that in the first hour from 6 to 7, we went 50 miles. But then in the second 2 hours, we only went 25. We were slowing down. All right. So let's do our final graph. Start 75. So this one says start 75 miles from home. Okay, so it says start there. Plot a graph that shows you increasing your speed as you drive 100 miles away. So we're already 75, and now we have to go 100 miles away. So we end up at 175, and it says do that in 2 hours. And we have, it doesn't say the speed, it says that you have to increase your speed. So you have to bend it that way. Okay. Then start to slow down as you drive for the next 75 miles in 2 hours. So we were at 2, we have to be at 4, and we need 75 more miles. We're going to end up at 250, and we're going to slow down when we do that. So we're going to bend it the other way. Right? Just make sure on the test you can bend it. Then stop the car for an hour. Then return all the way home. Remember that we started at 75 miles away from home. So now we're going to go all the way home at 50 miles every hour. So we're at 5. So every box is worth 25. So we're going to go 50 miles, 2 boxes every hour, right? And it says constant speed, so you're going at a straight line. And this one takes us 10 hours to get all the way home. All right, good luck with the homework.